Welcome to Shoe Talk for February 2025. There is a lot to cover here, and I'm going to get a little spicy at one point in this video, so let's just jump in. And starting with, I am a bit injured right now. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I was out for about an 11K run. About 5K into that run, I felt a pop in my left calf and then a dull pain. Unfortunately, it happened also at the 5K mark, which is about the furthest point from home in that run, because that's when those things are going to happen. So I had to hobble home the remaining 5K. Got home, figured I'd stretch it. I would use the massage gun to kind of work out the stiffness and soreness there. A commenter on Strava, which, by the way, follow me on Strava. You can see this stuff play out in real time. I'm very transparent with my running. That will be important later in this video. Said that I shouldn't be stretching it. Instead, I want to be elevating it with compression. Thank you for reminding me, because I sometimes forget that. So put on the compression sock, still use the massage gun, kept it elevated. And for the past 2 weeks, I've really been kind of letting the leg just rest. I have not been running a lot, which is frustrating because this is the first injury or strain that I've had in probably about 2 years that's kept me from running. Now, I don't think it's major. It's really my soleus muscle in my left calf. I think there's a little strain in there. I'm resting it. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been resting it. I have been running, but only like 6 to 9K runs, just kind of a mix of stuff. And I have been resting it quite a bit too. There's been a lot more days off over the past 2 weeks than I typically would do. So it's better, but it's still not 100%. So I'm still going to baby it a little bit. But it's, again, a little frustrating because I don't typically have injuries that keep me from running. And when I have something that's keeping me from running, it's frustrating. The good thing is, though, is that it's allowed me to reconnect to a couple shoes that I really haven't spent a lot of time in, mainly the Peg 41. It had been a while since I really ran in the Peg 41, and because I was injured or had some kind of pain in my leg, I just went back to the shoe that I knew was anchored, grounded, was going to be really good for my foot. And, the Peg 41 was that shoe. When you're hurt, you go back to what you know. That's what someone pointed out on Strava as well, and totally agree. Peg 41 has been great for that. I've also been running in the Peg Plus, and I've been running in the Peg Premium. I've really been rotating the Pegasus to kind of work through this injury, and it's worked really well. I think the shoes have been great. And on that note, that brings me to this shoe, the Nike Pegasus Premium. There has been so much drama online this past month about this shoe. It has been absolutely insane. What gets me about my review of this shoe, and I put that out on the last day of January last year, and it was very positive. I really enjoy this shoe. What gets me is that people are now accusing me of being inauthentic or being a Nike shill because Nike sent this shoe for me for review. Now, if you watch this channel for any length of time, you know I'm going to be very direct and say what I like and what I don't like. And I really don't care if I'm going against the grain of whatever the meta is in the shoe tube space or whatever the cool shoes are. I'm going to cover what's interesting to me, and I'm going to cover it fairly as to why it's interesting to me. And this shoe has been great. So it blows my mind that people cannot grasp that I genuinely enjoy this shoe. I'm not saying I like the shoe because Nike sent it to me. I'm not saying I like the shoe because it's a Pegasus. I'm saying I like the shoe because it's a good shoe. It's a fun shoe. And I think the people that are giving this shoe a chance, not just lumping on to the dunking on Nike, which, a lot of people in the shoe tube space get points for dunking on Nike. That's kind of, they built a brand around that. Fine, they can do what they want. But then when people come into my comments and just accuse me of being inauthentic or lying about how I actually feel about this shoe, that really bugs me. Now, when I put a review out, I kind of expect that the average viewer is someone who doesn't watch my content. They don't know my taste. They don't know what I cover. They don't know any of this about me. That's cool. And that's why I often repeat some of the same things in all of my reviews. For people that watch my reviews on a regular basis or are probably watching this video, you know that. You hear the same things over and over. And a shoe like this that was having a lot of kind of blow up when it released, there's also a bigger lifestyle crowd that's coming into this shoe. I expect a lot of new eyeballs on a review for this shoe. And that's fine. I can take that. But when I see people that actually do follow this channel, I see them commenting often on this channel, now saying that I'm being inauthentic, that I can't possibly like this shoe. I'm lying about how I feel about this shoe. That really bugs me. And when that claim that I'm being inauthentic comes into other reviews, for example, my last video on the channel was a long-term durability check-in on the Peg 41, and I'm getting someone that I see regularly on this channel saying that I must be lying. I couldn't possibly have gotten that durability. What's going on? That's frustrating to see. Back to this shoe though, I have genuinely enjoyed this shoe. I don't know what to say. And if you really want to understand if I enjoy a shoe, if I'm really being authentic about what I'm saying in a review, which I was for this shoe, check my Strava. My Strava actually shows that I now have over 100 miles in this shoe. The other day, I went over 100 miles in this shoe, which means I put about 45 more miles on this shoe since my review. And in fact, in the 1 month period that I've had this shoe, I put 100 miles on this shoe. I can't think of the last shoe that I put 100 miles into in about a month. So that should tell you how much I enjoy this shoe. And by the way, follow me on Strava if you don't believe my reviews or what I'm actually running in or what my tastes are, because I am as transparent as I possibly can be with my running data on Strava, even putting notes now on workouts about what I'm running in, what I'm thinking, why I like it, why I don't like it, what's going on, all of that sort of stuff, to be as transparent as I can, to show kind of my work that goes into the reviews and the content I do on this channel. That's the only way I can really do that. And that's why I'm doing that. And that's why I put my Strava out there so much, because that's sort of the detail that goes into everything else that I do here. So if you're ever interested in that stuff, or you ever have any doubts about my authenticity on this channel, follow me on Strava. You'll see what I'm actually running in. You'll see what I'm actually commenting on. And then you can make a decision. Now, specifically to the Pegasus Premium, do I wish this shoe was a little bit lighter? Yes, I would love to see this shoe 50 grams less in weight than it actually is. But when I've run in this shoe now over 100 miles, never once have I thought to myself, wow, this shoe is too heavy to run in. I need to stop running. Never once have I really noticed the weight of this shoe. Would I build a rotation around this shoe? Probably not, though as I said in my review of this shoe and then the Versus video I did after that, if you are a hardcore Alphafly fanatic, you love the feel of the Alphafly, you love the AirPods, you love the Tempo Next Percent way back when, you may want to look at this shoe. This shoe is actually a lot of that same feel in a trainer that's very versatile, that can do everything from easy past threshold running. I've done everything in the shoe. I've found it very fun for that, for anything really in that range. So for me, I wouldn't build a rotation around this shoe. For the average runner, I also wouldn't recommend to build a rotation around this shoe. But does that mean this isn't a fun shoe to run in? This is a great shoe to run in, especially the running I'm doing right now, which is just sort of general base building, or now that I'm kind of injured, just general enjoying running just to run. This is a great shoe because it can do a little bit of everything, and it's actually quite fun for that. Another thing that's quite interesting about this shoe is I actually follow a lot of the ShoeTube space from Japan and here in Taiwan. And the review of this shoe in those two spaces has been much more positive than anywhere in the West. In Japan, people are saying it's a heavy shoe. It's maybe not a shoe that they're going to build a rotation around either, but it's a fun shoe and it's actually delivering a lot of what people are saying Nike's needed to do for a long time. Not only as an innovator, but also with the Pegasus. Put premium materials, put the new materials in there, put new tech in there. You know, everything that people have been saying the Pegasus doesn't have, this shoe has. So the Japanese YouTube space, I think, has been a little bit more fair to this shoe. The Taiwanese space is sort of in that as well. And I will say here in Taiwan, I have seen more pairs of these on people's feet than I have seen really any other single shoe that's released. I've seen about 5 or 6 pairs of these shoes on various runners' feet since this shoe released. And it's only been out here in Taiwan maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And that never happens. So that's quite interesting. I can't remember the last shoe that I've seen that many on release on people's feet. So here in Asia, this shoe isn't the end-all be-all, but it's definitely being reviewed much more positively than in the West. Again, I find that very interesting, how things differ depending on what market you're in or what the general sort of vibe of the space is, for that region. Japan's shoe tube space is a little bit more positive, a little bit more training focused, a little bit more focused around actual training. Taiwan space is a little bit more around teams and building reps in teams and team environments, team workouts, that kind of stuff. Very different from what you see in American shoe tube or European shoe tube. So again, really interesting how this shoe is so polarizing and differs per market. And while I've spent a ton of time in this shoe this month, the shoe that I've been rotating with this shoe, which is kind of funny, has been this shoe, the Adidas Adios 9. Now, I said I don't notice the weight of the Pegasus Premium when I'm running in it, but I do notice the weight when I move to this shoe because this shoe is so much lighter. I realize how light this shoe is coming from the Peg Premium to the Adios 9. I have absolutely adored running in this shoe, and I cannot think of a shoe that fits my foot better than this shoe, is more fun to run in than this shoe, and really ticks all the boxes of what I want in a tempo trainer. And this is a tempo trainer, though it does easy running very well, and you can do max effort stuff really well. I've done track workouts in this shoe. They've all been great. And this shoe has really, really impressed me. Around my initial review of this shoe, I did a couple versus videos. In fact, this past month, I finally did the Peg Plus versus Adios 9 versus video. This shoe is going to appear in a bunch of other content throughout this year, and this is probably one of the shoes I'm going to be spending a ton of time in this shoe. Now, I'm almost at 100 miles in this shoe. I'm probably at about 85 miles, and I'm getting almost no wear on this outsole. This CPU outsole has shown absolutely no wear at all, especially in my high abrasion area. This is my right foot. I scuff here, so usually this is worn down. There's absolutely no wear at all on this outsole. There is some discoloration in this outsole, but whatever, I don't really care. This shoe, durability-wise, has been absolutely fantastic. I'm not feeling any change in the foam of this shoe. I don't think I'm going to get the Adios Pro 4 to any real length of time or miles to test the foam, but I am going to get this shoe well into the hundreds of miles this year. So I'm going to get a good sense of this new Lightstrike Pro. As it stands right now, there's absolutely no difference in this foam. And just overall, this is exactly what I want in a tempo trainer. So you will see this shoe on the channel quite a bit this year. And as much as I love this shoe, it leads me to my biggest frustration right now with running shoes, which is the Adidas Evo SL. Now, I haven't run in this shoe this month at all. Instead, what I've been doing is wearing this around my little studio here where I record all my content and work every day. I've been wearing this around most in the afternoons. Now, I don't think a lot of people think about this, but when you wake up, your feet are generally relaxed. They're the smallest they're going to be. They're their normal size. And as you spend time on your feet throughout the day, they flatten out, they may swell, they get larger, or a lot of us know this as runners, when you're on a long run, your feet generally will swell and get a little bit larger as you're on those long runs. Now, I'm a morning runner. I actually despise running in the afternoon. I only really like to run in the mornings. So when I go out to run, I'm generally running with what I would call fresh feet because I'm within like an hour or two of waking up. So my feet are kind of their smallest point. And when I was testing this shoe, I talked a lot about my review that I struggle with the fit of this shoe. And this is the 8.5. I also have a 9. I've been going back and forth between these two shoes. But what I've been doing this month is I've been wearing these around my little studio here just to experiment with socks to see if I can get one of these to fit better as my feet swell throughout the day, as I'm walking around, as I'm just kind of doing my stuff in the afternoons. Now, I've been trying thick socks, thin socks, synthetic socks, natural fiber socks, padded socks, non-padded socks, socks that are slippery, socks that are grippy, and I still do not have a sock or a fit for either one of these sizes that works for me. In the US 8.5, the fit of the upper is a little bit better. There's still too much volume in the forefoot, especially around the base of the eyelet chain. And the problem with the 8.5 is that it's just a little too short. My toes are kind of right up on the front of the shoe. Now, as a tempo trainer, to go out and do a 6 to 8 kilometer tempo run, which is something I'm doing often, again, you'll see that if you follow me on Strava, this is fine. I think this size works really well. But if I needed to do anything longer than that, then I'm not going to have enough length in the shoe and I'm going to have some toe issues. However, if I go to the US size 9 shoe, I get just a very sloppy training fit, which is fine if I want a training fit, but this is not a trainer. This is a performance shoe. I want a more performance fit on this shoe. So while I have the length in here, I really do not have the fit in here, especially in the forefoot, really from the eyelet chain to the toe. It's just too wide, too sloppy. So my foot is neither wide nor narrow, but it is high volume because I do have a high arch. So I don't know why this shoe is being so challenging as far as fit. I reviewed this shoe very favorably, and I stand by that. I think this is an excellent shoe. But for me, the fit isn't there. In fact, I reviewed the Brooks Launch 11 this month. I'll put a link in the description to that video. And in that video, I compared the fit of the Launch 11 to the Evo SL. The Launch 11 is everything I wanted this shoe to feel like, and it's exactly how I wanted this shoe to fit, but the shoe doesn't fit that way. Now, I think for a newer runner, maybe a more recreational runner, I think the Evo SL in true to size is probably totally fine. I think given that this shoe has more of a, what I would call training fit, it's a little bit sloppier fitting, I think a newer runner, a more recreational runner is going to be totally fine with that. They don't really have any expectations otherwise. I think this is great for a newer or recreational runner because of that. But I'm coming from super shoes. I'm coming from very good fitting race shoes. I have expectations for a tempo trainer to fit better than this shoe does. And it's just unfortunate this shoe fits the way it does because there is so much performance in this shoe. I really want to figure this shoe out. So I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying some other socks. I got a couple other ideas for socks. In March, I do plan on spending a little time running in this shoe just to kind of, again, see that. But it's just unfortunate because this shoe just fits so poorly. I kind of want to give up on it, but I don't want to give up on it because it's such a good shoe. It's such a fun shoe. There's a lot of performance. The other struggle I have with this shoe is that this shoe, the Adios 9, is everything I want in a tempo trainer, and the fit is nearly perfect in this shoe. So I really also have no reason to even try to make the Evo SL work because even if I make it to work really well, I'm still going to pick this shoe over every single time. But that's me. That's probably not the average runner. So I'm going to keep plugging away at the Adidas shoes. I love this shoe. I want to fall in love with the Evo SL again. I think it's a great shoe. The fit's not there, and I got to do something about it. In other news, I'm going to Japan next week, the week after the Tokyo Marathon, which will be within a few days of the recording of this video. And originally, I had planned this trip to go find some ASICS Metaspeeds because I was sure that ASICS was going to launch the new Metaspeeds for the Tokyo Marathon this year, 2025. That doesn't seem to be the case because all they're promoting midweek now, a few days before the Tokyo Marathon, is a new colorway of the Metaspeed Paris series from last year. So that makes me think the new Metaspeeds aren't coming till the fall at this point because I don't know why they would come out in the spring if they're not coming out of Tokyo. But still, I'm going to Japan or Tokyo to do shoe stuff. I'm going to be looking for a few shoes. One of the main shoes I'm looking for besides an ASICS Metaspeed is this shoe, the Puma Proprio Nitro. Now, when I first saw that name, I was like, that's the strangest name ever, until I realized it means proprioception. And I know there's a few of you that will comment that are looking for me to say that word often in my videos. There you go. Now, this shoe is, as I understood, a Japan-only release, and it was specifically asked for by coaches of Japanese professional and collegiate teams to build a shoe for their Puma athletes that will build foot strength that they can work on in the spring that will last them throughout the year. So this was Puma's answer to that. It essentially looks like a Velocity Nitro 3 with the EVA carrier foam layer removed. So you have about 20 mil in the heel. I think there's about 14 or 16 mil in the forefoot. All nitro foam. I believe it's the older supercritical TPEE version of nitro. I don't think it's the newer ATPU foam. It seems like a shoe that I should love if I can find it. Now, it's supposedly only a Japanese shoe, only for the Japanese market. However, the only information I can find about it online as of the recording of this video is from Puma Australia. So I don't know. I don't know if it's only a Japan-only shoe or it's a Asia region shoe, because sometimes Puma will do that. If it's an Asia region-only shoe, that means we'll get it here in Taiwan. But this is probably the main shoe I'm looking for when I'm in Tokyo. There's a few some colorways, some shoes I've never seen here in Taiwan. So there may be some surprises that I come home with from Japan. Now, I will be active on my Instagram, sharing stuff I'm looking at. So if you want to see kind of what I'm thinking, what I may be picking up, follow me on Instagram. You'll see that stuff in my stories for the most part next week. The other thing, I was planning on filming some running. If you go look at my playlist, there's a playlist called As Seen On, which are basically running routes that I love. I made those videos mostly for treadmill runners. I had originally planned on doing 2 more routes in Tokyo, 2 of my favorite routes. However, the weather looks absolutely awful for next week. The marathon should be fine. Right now it's about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The marathon should be about 12 to 14 degrees Fahrenheit, which is probably in the low to mid 50s Fahrenheit. But as of Monday, the temperature drops basically to 2 degrees Celsius, to about the mid 30s. And it's going to be cold and rainy the whole time that I'm there. So that is brutally cold for me, because the coldest weather that I've experienced this winter has been around 6 to 8 degrees Celsius, which is low 40s Fahrenheit. So yeah, I have very bad luck with Tokyo weather whenever I'm there. It's either rainy or brutally cold, and it looks like it's going to be both this trip. So I don't know how much I'm going to film these routes, but I'm definitely still going to be looking for shoes, and it should be really interesting. Looking ahead to March, we have some big shoes coming out on the channel. First one will be the Vomero 18. Now, I did want to have my initial review of that shoe up basically tomorrow as of the recording of this video. However, because of my injury, that just wasn't going to happen. So my Vomero 18 review is going to be a little bit delayed. I will have it probably in the first weekend of March, so about 10 days from the release of this video. I apologize for the wait on that one, but just with my leg, I wasn't going to get the amount of volume in the shoe that I needed to anyway, so it is what it is. Second shoe that I'll be covering a lot in March is this shoe, the Nike Streakfly 2. Now, I'm going to do a first impressions video on this shoe pretty quickly, pretty soon actually, where I'm going to get into comparing it to the Streakfly 1, but also some track spikes, because it's more track spike than it is road shoe. And there's a lot of misinformation about this shoe. I want to kind of clarify a bunch of stuff, so look for that video coming out soon. But otherwise, I'm going to do some workouts. I will have a review of that shoe probably also within the next 10 to 12 days from the release of this video. And then the third big shoe that will hopefully be here will be the Vaporfly 4 from Nike. I've been told that I should have a pair of these in March. And that is probably the most exciting shoe for me right now, because that's a shoe that I'm probably going to be racing in later this year, because I plan on doing a half marathon in December. But it's also, I'm a Vaporfly runner. A new Vaporfly is a big deal for me. Probably the only shoe that's a bigger deal to me than a new Pegasus is a new Vaporfly. So I am super excited about this. Plus being able to compare the Vaporfly 4 to the Streakfly 2, which there's going to be a lot of comparisons, and some other shoes. Exciting content ahead. So stay tuned for all of that. There is a ton of really cool stuff coming as far as Nike shoes in March, maybe a few other shoes depending on what I find in Japan, and then a bunch of other surprises for March. There is a lot of stuff that I'm finally going to put out into the content space in March that I've been working on behind the scenes. So stay tuned if you're interested in that stuff. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you find this content useful, consider subscribing. You'll see more content from me pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.